Hello everyone, this is Margarita with CityGal Papeterie. Welcome to my channel or welcome back. In today's video, I want to show you how to make these super easy doodle flowers. They are made with watercolor. If you have water-soluble crayons, you can use that as well. But I've seen these in several different places and I wanted to create some of my own, and I've had so much fun making them that I've been using them in a lot of different projects. And then I've kind of added more details to them as well, so you can see these have more details. Or you can keep them really simple as well. So I'm gonna move these all to the side and show you how to make these flowers if you want to. This is how I've used some of my flowers in this little layout that I made. And I really enjoyed making them, and I hope that you do too. For this project, you won't need a whole lot. These are really simple and really easy to make. I have some cheap watercolors that I got from Five Below for $5. I've got a bunch of different papers. You can use any paper you want. I have some watercolor paper here, some 140 pound, 120 pound, super flimsy watercolor paper, and even simple copy paper. If you have a pattern paper that you don't like and they are one-sided, you can also use the back of that paper to paint these on. I've also done that. You also need a brush. A watercolor brush obviously would work best, but it's not necessary. If you have little cheap Dollar Tree brushes, that would work just fine. And then these are the paints that I'm using. And you can even use just the little cheapy like water, what are these called? Crayola watercolors also. And you're obviously going to need some water and or paper towels to keep your area clean. I'm going to start by picking out a color, and then I'm just creating the shape of flower petals. I'm not being too precious with this. It doesn't really matter. They don't have to be perfect. They're gonna look more like blobs by the time I'm done with them anyway, before the pen markings come in. If you have some reference pictures, that helps a lot. So I have these pictures of tulips that I'm going to sort of replicate. And so as you can see, I'm just kind of recreating the shapes with my watercolor paint very loosely. And I'm gonna make them in different colors, so I have more than one color of the same shaped flower. So here's the yellow one, and then I'm adding a second color to help me add some dimension to the flower itself. And that first one that I did is already dry, so I just added some little orange dots to the center. You can also create leaf plants with this technique. Here I'm just making some leaves, adding a little bit of brown in the middle for the stem or the vein of the leaves, and then I'll just add a stem going from the top to the bottom. And again, it's not perfect, doesn't need to be super pretty. It is honestly, I enjoy the process of this a lot more than the results, but I really like how they turn out anyway. Now I'm gonna I'm gonna paint a rough shape of these petals. I think this is a carnation, but I don't know for sure. And again, I'm adding more than one color just so that they have some dimension and some shading. And obviously this doesn't look like a flower, it just looks like a blob, but I'm trying to sort of recreate the shapes of the petals, and then I will add detail later on. Now I'm using that little yellow flower as a reference for my next one. It has more oval shaped petals. I made mine with one giant petal. I'm not sure why it came out that way, but it looks great in the end. And the process is very relaxing. You can use these, the end flowers, for lots of different projects. You can use them for card making, you can use them for scrapbooking, you can use them for collaging, for mixed media, all kinds of things. I am going to continue here with different shaped petal flowers in different colors. I think this is another watercolor paper. And this is just so you can see that you really can make this with any paper. I know this is watercolor paper, but you can do this right on copy paper or on, as I mentioned, the back of cardstock that is ugly. I know you guys have pattern paper that makes you cringe, that you don't want to throw out, but you have a stash somewhere and you keep thinking to yourself, you'll find the perfect project for it. This is it. This is the project for it. Flip that paper around, paint some little loose flowers, and yeah, and have fun. And that's how those turned out. I'm going to grab another piece. This is the flimsy watercolor paper. And because you're using such a small amount of paint and water, even the copy paper and the cardstock that I used didn't buckle much. It was very minimal because I'm not using a lot of fluid on here at all. It's just the shapes. So if you feel like you can't really paint flowers, look at that. Just a super sloppy swirl and it's going to work out just fine. Don't worry about it. You don't have to have skills hardly at all for this. Just the supplies and some paper and the will to have a little bit of fun and enjoy yourself for a moment. And yeah. So I'm just going to continue creating different petal shapes on my paper. And I'm not concerned about the colors blending together. And I think this is the copy paper that I'm using now. It's hard to tell. No, this is another watercolor paper. I think I already used a copy paper and I must have missed pointing it out. So here's another little plant and a little flower that my son drew me because he saw me making flowers and wanted to make his own. Here I'm even painting a cactus shape. And then adding some little details while it's still wet. And then here I'm making another cactus. This one's a little bit bigger. Little cactus arm. Blending some more colors in there. Some dark brown at the bottom. Now you're going to bring in a fine tip pen or marker. You can use anything of this kind. I have a Pilot pen, I have an acrylic paint pen, and a micron marker. These all work just fine. It depends on your preference and style and the kind of look that you're getting. Some of them, I don't know, some people might want a really thin line, some people might want a thicker line. I think trying out different pens helps you pinpoint the type of style that you like. It's my son playing around with my watercolors as he's talking to me and watching me work. The pen I used didn't have much ink left, so I'm going to go over it a second time with the acrylic fine tip marker. And again, a preferential thing would be how many lines you want to use. So I'm going over each petal shape twice because I kind of like the look of that, of having more than one line. But you could just do it one time. You can do it multiple times. You could even do dotted lines, jagged lines. It could be lines that are sort of skipping spaces. It looks good in all kinds of ways. So again, I'm not being perfect or precious here. I'm just quickly doodling them. I don't want to be precise. I'm again focusing more on the process than on the end result, because I feel like they all come out looking pretty good. So I'm pulling out my reference picture for this just so I can remember what the shape of the petals look like, more or less. And again, I'm just kind of making them, you know, similar to in the image. I'm not looking for the perfect or exact shape. And then I just add some little lines for details. And for the middle of this one, I added some little circles. And I'm jumping around the petals so that some of the petals look like they're in the foreground and some look like they're in the back. And so this is what we have so far. Flowers, cacti, leaves, plants. And now you can leave them like that, or you can add more details. If you visited my channel before, you know that I love to add a lot of details to things. So I'm bringing in my colored pencil. These are all Prismacolored pencils. And I'm pulling out colors that are similar to the flower in different shades. So I have like a deep golden orange, not golden orange, a golden yellow, and then a lighter yellow, and then an even brighter yellow. And I'm going to grab the darkest one, and I'm going to start at the bottom to add a little shading. And then I grab the second color, and I'm gonna again start at the bottom and then blend the darker color upward, and then go a little bit higher than the previous color to add a sort of shading appearance. I hope that made sense. I feel like I didn't explain that right, but I mean, you can see you can see what I'm doing here. And then with the lightest one, I go over the entire thing there so that it blends all of the pencil marks into the shading area. And that's what it looks like. Now I'm going to bring in this acrylic painter and drop it. Of course, I'm dropping everything all the time. I'm going to shake it up, get the paint all mixed, and then I'm going to add some little white highlights and details to the flower as well. I didn't press my tip the way that I should have, so I didn't get the ink running down properly, or the paint coming down properly, so that's why I'm kind of struggling here. But yeah, I add some dots to the bottom of the petals, some stripes towards the top to give the flower some details and some dimension and some highlights, and I end up really liking how that looks. So I do that with most of them. Not every flower I do this to, but I do it to a lot of them. And these are some of the other flowers that I've already made. And these are these little red ones that I also added some highlights towards the center, flicking my little marker outward. And then these are lavenders, and I added these yellow details and then the white dots for more details. And here I'll show you one more flower. And this one has similar colors to the other one. So we start with the darkest, this is the orange. And again, I'm gonna add some shading to the center. It looks so similar to the paint, I don't even know if I'm writing. And then I bring in the lighter color. So for this one, it's a little hard to see the pencil lines, but they are there. In person, you can see it more. And then I add some highlight to the center of each petal with the lightest yellow. And I think it really helps those petals look round. And then I grab this contrasting color, this purple, and I'm gonna add that to the center of the flower for the little details. Once again, I bring in my white paint marker, and I'm gonna add some details to these as well. And here again, I was struggling with this marker. I've tried lots and lots and lots of white acrylic markers and white acrylic pens. This seems to be the best ones that I've had so far, but I've tried the Jelly Rolls, I've tried the Dilutions, I've tried other off-brand, I've tried the Polska. They all end up getting clogged on me, or the points, they fray. This one has like a plastic point that has some slits in it, and that's how the paint comes out, so the point doesn't get frayed. So far I've had the best luck with this one, and the paint doesn't dry up as quickly on the tips as it has with other white acrylic pens. But yeah, isn't that cute? I love how this turned out. I do work on a few others, but I hope you'll give these a try. And again, you can leave them super simple like the one on the left. You can add some details like the one on the right. It's really all up to you and how you feel. I hope you do give this a try, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.